especially relative to where we started from as a government. And we did announce that the rate at which prices are rising has slowed down. And that is what we meant when we said inflation was on the downward trend.
Okay.
Lending rates, the rate at which businesses and individuals borrow from the bank are coming down. Interest rates generally are coming down. And we did indicate that the Treasury bill rate, for instance, has dropped to a little over 12%, I think 12.08%.
It is very clear. I'm sure every investor out there
knows this.
Factual.
In terms of our ability to plan according to available resources, which you hear the technical people call the deficit. Deficit is where you spend money you do not have. Now, if you compare last year, 2016, as of this time, and the gap between our expenditures and our incomes, there too, we are performing better than last year, which gives us assurance that the target for the year would be achieved. In fact, we have revised the target slightly downwards from 6.5% to 6.3%. So we did announce that also today. We could go on. The reserves, our external reserves, that is the money you have in simple terms, to back your CD, the foreign exchange you have to assure people who do business with Ghana that if it comes to the head, government has some forex. That demonstrate the strength of your CD. On that one, we have shown improvement. So, yes, the update we brought to Ghanaians today was that we are beginning to see a change in the deterioration we saw under the previous administration, which deterioration led us to go to the IMF. We're beginning to see a change, and we thought it was good to update Ghanaians. And here we do not say that by way of taking the credit, really. We think as Ghanaians we have achieved this together. We're grateful to our colleagues in the opposition. They have been very critical. They've kept us on our toes. I think it is national achievement that we are now beginning to see a change in some of the weaknesses we've seen in the economy in recent years. And that was one set of things. On the other hand, the second is that we also went to Parliament today to tell the nation that we expected to get more revenue than we have been able to get. That is to say, the inflows, with which, a budget is nothing but a projection of the money that you would get. And then you also a projection of the expenditures that you would make with the money that you will get. That is nothing but that's what a budget is. So we came to Parliament today to also announce to the nation that some of the revenues we're expecting have not come in as fast as we felt or we thought at the beginning of the budget preparation. But now, realizing the trend, we consider that if we did not revise the expenditures that we were going to do had we been able to get all the money we wanted, then you are going to have the gap widening. It affects the CD. Inflation goes up, and then the economy begins to get into trouble, the kind of trouble that would drive you to go and get development partners to come and help you run the economy. So today, what we said was that we have not been able to get the revenue that we wanted, but we're coming here, therefore, to also review the expenditures we said we would make, except that we are conscious of the fact that there are certain critical expenditures you cannot touch. We can't touch free SHS, planting for food and jobs we cannot touch. We cannot touch LEAP, the thing that matters to Ghanaians, we have decided
the social interventions.
The social interventions, we have decided to retain them. So this broadly are the two sets of information that we went to Parliament with today. And judging from the response, I am pleased. I am happy that Ghanaians are beginning to see that this economy is beginning to show positive signs. And I'm very confident that by the close of the year, we will really be happy that at the economic management strategies we have adopted under the NPP government.
Thank you very much, Kweku. Now, I would come to you, Atoforsen. I mean, he's gone ahead. You know, this is a business program, so I'd want us to devoid it of all the politics of it and speak to issues. Speak to issues. Let the person at home get a clearer understanding of really. And I like the way Kweku has gone about it, that this is what we came to present. And he's even broken it down to say, well, we expected an amount in terms of revenue. We couldn't make it. We're still here to talk to you on it. So let me allow you the time also to point out your issues in between. Maybe if it's the revenue that you feel that, well, they didn't. But is it as they've presented to us? From the figures you also wailed.
Unfortunately, the situation is not as good as he's presenting it. I'm particularly disturbed as a Ghanaian.
You can raise your voice a little bit.
I am particularly disturbed as a Ghanaian today when the minister responsible for finance presented a media review. I say this because, one, I feel vindicated, obviously because when the budget was read, some months ago, I cautioned that clearly the revenue projections are overly ambitious and they cannot achieve it. The parliamentary Hansard will bear me this because that was my position. Surprisingly, today the minister responsible for finance came to confirm my position on the back of the revenue. The minister is saying by end year, and that is even still projection, that the tax revenue is going to underperform by 1.9 billion Ghana cedis. 1.9 billion Ghana cedis. Obviously, you notice that first half of the year, the revenue has so far underperformed in excess of 1.5 billion. So we are going to see the underperformance to continue. I've heard some of our colleagues saying that, yes, it is still expenditure, it's still projections, and they can do better. But the finance minister is telling us today that tax revenue cannot perform. And let me say that revenue is such that if you miss first and second quarter by certain magnitude, you cannot crawl back in the third and the fourth quarter. Within certain acceptable magnitude, you can easily crawl back. 5 to 3% you can crawl back because there's an element of seasonalities. But when you underperform by 10% plus 15%, it will be very difficult for any government under the circumstances to claw back the losses. Non-tax revenue, we are being told today that non-tax revenue, they are revising it downwards by 500 million Ghana cedis. The two put together, shortfall of 2.4 billion Ghana cedis. I caution that you are giving tax incentives and at the same time you are saying revenue is going to go up. You don't have measures to support that. And therefore, the numbers you are projecting are pretty cosmetic and you cannot achieve it. Today, my position is clear that the minister agrees with me. On the back of expenditure, what we have seen today, you've seen the Ministry of Finance and the minister responsible for finance presenting expenditure items to us. And you know where my worry is? He's cutting certain expenditure lines. Yes, you can cut. Nothing stops you from cutting.
But you just heard the deputy mention that, well, some social interventions would ensure that you have
it.
Yes,
but
so go ahead. I just don't want to interrupt you.
Don't worry, I'm coming in.
2 minutes there too.
On the back of expenditure, you've noticed that in as much as the government is paying the ordinary government worker compensation, what this budget seeks to do is to constrain the transfers to the government ministries, departments, and agencies by about 600 million Ghana cedis. Simply put, government will employ people that will sit in the office, but they will be denied the opportunity to buy papers, pens, toners, and they won't have money to work. Government agencies will be there.
How do you know that? Has any ministry come up to say that we don't have toners to work? I mean, I want you to be pragmatic. I don't want us to toe the line
I'm being pragmatic. Do you know what goods and services means? Obviously. Goods and services are the amount of money that you budget for ministries, departments, and agencies for the purposes of running their offices. To buy things like paper, computers, and everyday running, things that you use it for everyday running of the office. So if you cut expenditure of goods and services to these ministries, departments, and agencies, what does that mean? Okay, can I make a point?
Yeah, make your point.
The second point is that the deputy minister, in making his submission, I heard him say that certain expenditure line has been preserved. Yes, you've preserved some expenditure lines. But my very worry is that capital expenditure as a percentage to GDP keeps declining. The budget, in fact, 2016, capital expenditure as a percent of GDP was 4.6%. That was total outing. Today, in fact, in the original budget, capital expenditure as a percentage to GDP was projected to be 3.4% of GDP. Today, we are being told that you are going to cut capital expenditure down by another 600 million Ghana cedis. Simple put, contractors who are working on government projects, they will not be able to be servicing their debt to the banks. They will not be able to pay the suppliers of which they've gone to buy cement and others from them. So you are saying that you are preserving free SHS expenditure, but you're also telling the contractor that I'm not paying you. Well, I am not paying you, contractor. What does that mean? And what is the impact on the economy? So we want to look at the impact on the economy, because this is a business program. This is a business program, and the businessman out there must be aware of what is going there. So you have the opportunity to speak to it. It's important to make this important point.
Don't take it straight that you are not going to be paid.
This is the numbers.
If I can read it, but he didn't mention.
But if you cut it, how are you going to pay it?
He would show, he would justify. Right. But let me take this break shortly. When I come back, Kweku Kwate will react to some of these things and also speak on growth predictions. I mean, there are concerns that we're growing on the back of oil. We'll try to peruse how we would see the economy grow, even if you take the oil revenues that we are raking in with the coming aboard of 10 and the ENIs and all the others. We'll be back shortly. When we come back, more reactions from government.
Revitalize your body with Master T. Reduces stress, improves your sleep.
Do you really want to keep your job?
I try, sir, but always wake up feeling very tired.
Don't you drink Master Tea?
Master Tea.
Master Tea is a food supplement to improve sleep, reduce stress, relax muscles, invigorate the body for good health and vitality, giving you a fresh start for the day.
We love Master Tea.
Now available at all pharmacies, filling station shops and shopping centers nationwide. Contact Medimosis in Accra, Kumasi, Tema and Strazako. Master Tea, another quality product from Medimosis, not suitable for pregnant women and lactating mothers.
Master Tea, invigorate the body for good health and vitality.
MTN Mobile Money, you can take your bank with you everywhere you go. Dial *170# and follow the prompts. Connect your bank account to your mobile money wallet to load and transfer money between your wallet and your bank account. Take your bank with you everywhere you go with MTN Mobile Money.
What else you take away? I then two no.
Experience the new world of better money.
Indigestion and heartburn? You could experience a sour taste in your mouth, or a burning sensation in the throat, the chest, the stomach discomfort, or even heaviness. Don't let indigestion or heartburn symptoms slow you down. Always reach for Andrews. It starts to work in seconds, so you can keep on living your life non-stop. Andrews fights indigestion and heartburn fast. If symptoms persist after 2 days, consult your doctor. Not suitable for children under the age of 3.
I say, the MediaFest promotion don't come. Oh yes, MediaFest promotion are landed off. From now to the end of August, Media is going gaga with an insane double promotion. Your friend of MediaFest. It is simple, KK. You buy media, you get a discount and a free gift. That one na double. Buy a Media double door fridge, top or bottom mounted, and get massive discounts and a free blender or kettle. Get huge discounts, free kettle or microwave when you buy a top or bottom freezer and a frost-free media fridge, or you get a discount and a free gas cooker when you buy a media side-by-side fridge. That's one na double talks. We don't finish. Get double when you buy a media 4-burner gas cooker. You will get a freestanding fan or microwave. This offer is available at all showrooms and authorized resellers as well as retailer stores while stocks last.
MTN Mobile Money, you can take your bank with you everywhere you go. Dial *170# and follow the prompts. Connect your bank account to your mobile money wallet to load and transfer money between your wallet and your bank account. Take your bank with you everywhere you go with MTN Mobile Money.
What else you take away? I then two no.
Experience the new world of better money.
All right, so thank you very much for staying with us on State of Affairs. My guest in the studio, Kweku Kwatin, Deputy Minister of Finance, Kaizel Atoforsen, former Deputy Minister of Finance. Well, Kweku, so 10 now, you were really noting some few things down that you really want to react to. I'll give you the opportunity now. But added to that, tell me about your plan for growth. I mean, we're growing on the back of oil, and everybody would understand that this is not the kind of growth that we want to see. Take the floor now.
Well, thank you. First, Honorable Atoforsen made a point that it is not as rosy as we're painting it to be. I can understand him. It is not rosy because we inherited liabilities. And anybody who says within the 6 months we could turn Ghana into some super economy will not be realistic. When I say we are happy at the outcomes, what I mean is that the economy is beginning to demonstrate that the strategies that we have started are right, and that makes us happy. But we're not saying that we are out of the woods. I mean, when you inherit an economy, 73.1% of GDP indebtedness, you have outstanding payments. And you know, when my good friend was saying that we have cut capital expenditure, he was right. We have indeed cut capital expenditure. But for him, the consequence of that will not be that we cannot award contracts, because capital spending, you should use it to award contracts. If you listen to him carefully, he said you will not be able to pay contractors and that their indebtedness to the banks would remain. The question you should ask is that, is it even fair for a government to come in and your capital spending is not for doing the projects you think are helpful, the commitments on the basis of which the people elected you, The burden is that you have all these outstanding payments, and he said contractors will not be paid. You know, when we were on break,
is it true?
I was making.
Is it true that contractors will not be paid?
We're paying some. We have programmed some in the budget for the payment. But during the break, I was making a joke with him that those contractors, they should go to the opposition and collect the money. Of course,
but when it's evident you've seen the road contracts and everything, the work that they've done, maybe Cocoa Roads in my hometown, Achim Kukrin to me, and it's there.
I will not dispute.
To pay
look,
for
I do not want to dispute the quality of the outstanding payments we are talking about.
Right.
I don't think it will be fair, but I just want to nail the point that it is not rosy partly because you have inherited contractors you have to pay. And Honorable Atuforsen is now telling us that in view of the fact that revenue did not come in as much as we wanted, our capital expenditure has been cut. And that cut is not going to affect our ability to deliver on our own programs. He's saying that that capital expenditure cut would mean that the contractors that were engaged by the previous administration, we may not be able to pay. I'm just saying this to emphasize, and I agree with him, that all is not rosy. I mean, everybody knows as a Ghanaian that this is not where we want to be. But my joy is that we are beginning to see the improvements, and I'm confident that if we keep the strategies right, as we're doing now, going forward, things would improve for the better. Now, quick. You see, revenue targets ambitious. I remember Honorable Atuforsen said that, and it was not just him. Many people said, your revenue targets are ambitious.
So did you know that the targets were ambitious, and yet you went on ahead to splash it onto the faces of Ghanaians, even when all had told you that, look, it's not as rosy
we had a
as
choice.
you think.
We had a choice. We could have set very low targets. And that would have made maybe Honorable Atuforsen and many others happy. That your targets are low, and by now we would have achieved them. We would have achieved them, and we wouldn't be here discussing our inability to achieve our target. But we decided that we have rolled out interventions, some of which I would mention briefly, and therefore we would turn the underperformance of revenue round in spite of the tax cuts we had offered Ghanaians to boost business. That was what we considered. We have rolled out the interventions. The results are slower than we anticipated, but we are a victim of our own determination to go beyond the mediocre targets we have been setting for ourselves and to say, Ghanaians, we can do better. It does not mean that if we have a setback, it means it was wrong to be ambitious. We will continue to be ambitious instead of dreaming small. We will dream big. We are studying the reasons why we have not achieved our ambitious targets. We are not sleeping. But we will continue.
Yes,
we'll continue.
And
quickly,
just ask a question on this one. You know, it's an economy that goes with a lot of forecasts. The IFS is sitting. When you mention revenue, that we're going to rake in revenue to this point, as a think tank, probably they are also sitting forecasting. If you come back and you are not able to achieve it, it has implications on the economy. Government was not able to achieve its target. So I don't think a revenue target that you intend to generate is something that you put out, or let's set very ambitious targets, and even if we don't achieve it, we'll come and say we set ambitious targets. I don't think that's what the average
look, in previous years, we did the previous, and I don't intend to be political here, just so we can learn the lessons.
Absolutely.
Under the previous administration, there were targets that were not ambitious. From what I hear from him, they were not ambitious. But why? In 2015, they came back to Parliament and said, even their non-ambitious targets, we could not achieve that. And we will cut this, we will cut that. So which is better? To set ambitious targets and not be able to meet, or to set non-ambitious targets and still not be able to meet? The point I am making is that when we set a target, it is not for the fun of it. We want to challenge ourselves. And we are not achieving, even though we did not achieve our revenue targets, we are studying why we didn't. As you may have realized, we are doing a lot of work at customs. And many customs officers are on interdiction. I'm taking this opportunity to signal to the business community that we do have businesses that have evaded tax. We'll be going after them. When you're going through that kind of reform, you are bound to receive some initial shocks. Again, you might have seen what we're doing in the area of exemptions. We are taking very extraordinary measures. We are saying exemptions never happen, pay and come for a refund. We sympathize with businesses that say it's inconveniencing, but we are able now to remove many of the irregular and illegitimate exemptions that prevailed in the economy. So the general point I am making is that we will continue to dream big. If we have setbacks, we will review and understand why we do not achieve our targets. But that is not going to stop us from being ambitious. And one last point. He said,
I'll give you 30 seconds on that.
Good.
One.
He says, you are employing workers and your goods and services allocation has been cut. Therefore, the workers will be there. They will not do any work. On the face of it, it is true. If you are continuing to pay workers and you don't have the money to give them, it means they will not work, they will not be able to do as much work as they would have if you had allocated. But the question is that when your revenue underperforms, you're taking steps to deal with that. What do you do with your workers? Sack them? We are confident that in view of the positive signs we are beginning to see, and I have indicated some of them, that this is not a permanent phenomenon, and that going forward, there will be a turnaround. The goods and services allocation would be as big as it ought to be, and then the workers would have work to do. But we're not going to sack anybody. If any government thinks that the way to deal with, the way I'm concluding on this, that the way to deal with revenue shortfalls is to say that because you are tempted to cut your goods and services, you should cut your wages and sack workers or reduce the salaries of workers. We don't think that is the good way to manage an economy. We will keep the workers. We will tamper, of course, with the goods and services allocation, but we are confident that that is only for a while. The economy, as we are beginning to see, will turn around. They will get the money they need to do so that they can deliver to Ghanaians the kind of services Ghanaians are looking for.
I know one person who's itching so much to react to some of these issues, and you know he's right here. Kazel Atoforsen will come in shortly, but Kazel, if you give me the opportunity, I'll take a breather shortly so that you put more of the points together. And then when we come back, you'd also have the opportunity to react to some of these things. I mean, he's really explained it to the understanding of the average Ghanaian. So if this is the understanding, I doubt why you of all people in Parliament mentioned that, in fact, this is the Assembly budget. Is it propaganda or politics? When we come back, I'll let you react to some of these things. We're back shortly with more details.
Sensitivity definitely holds you back. You tend to avoid a whole lot of things, and that's not you. You have a tiring day, you grab a cold water, you are drinking it. The pain comes, and it's so very sharp, and you just stop for like some seconds. Someone talks to you, and you're like, wait. That was when I was like, I have to do something about it. So I saw a dentist, and she recommended Sensodyne. I'm like, I just need toothpaste. Life's back to normal. Even better than normal. That was good. No pain, no shock.
They'll go with a 4-4-2 diamond formation for that early lead.
An early goal will settle the nerves.
Their away team has been in bad form. They will feel the pressure.
The home side's kept 2 clean sheets in a row.
It's all about momentum.
Who will have the stamina to last the 90 minutes?
Their star striker is suspended.
They've got no kappa.
The marking will be tight.
This will be won or lost in the midfield.
This is why I bet.
This is why I bet.
This is why I bet. Betway, for the love of the game.
We unite. We defy. We hope. We dream. We play. We are fire in our hearts. We are made of black.
mobile money, you can take your bank with you everywhere you go. Dial *170# and follow the prompts. Connect your bank account to your mobile money wallet to load and transfer money between your wallet and your bank account. Take your bank with you everywhere you go with MTN Mobile Money.
One actually take away. And then two, no.
Experience the new world of better money.
All right, so we're grateful, and like we said, we'll just go straight into some reactions, and then we'll be preparing to round the program up. We must assure you that within the coming days, we'll find a bigger forum where we'll deliberate on the mid-year budget review. But Kaisel, you have the floor now, so yes.
Okay, you know what? Kwaku Kwarteng, the Honorable Deputy Minister, made some point. And I have some reservations on some of the points he raised.
Go straight to the points, exactly.
The major reservation I have, he talked about the fact that if you were to project realistically, it's a mediocre. And that is the exact word that he said. In fiscal management, it's rather imprudent and rather mediocre if you actually project unrealistically. Everywhere in the world, country-specific examples, countries rather project realistically, and if there is any surpluses, they use it to apply for certain expenditures that will rather bring growth.
Just a question to my country, Ghana. Were they wrong being ambitious? That look, let's go for an ambitious budget.
When I say fiscal management, it's not new to Ghana. We also run a country, and that is how it's supposed to be. Best practices. It's country-specific best practices, and Ghana subscribed to best practices. So I was surprised to hear from him that it is rather mediocre to realistically make certain projections. I disagree with him completely, and I think it's a wrong statement. The second point that he raised on the back of our race. Surprisingly, I've looked at this budget statement, this media review carefully. The deficit as projected from 6.3 to 6.5 to 6.3%.
Yeah, it's right here.
It's on cash basis. Yet you are cutting certain critical expenditure that results in arrest. You are failing to communicate to the market what will be your overall fiscal position, including arrest, which means commitment. Yet you are making references to debt, what do you call it, fiscal deficit on commitment basis in the previous year. Why are you not coming up front with the people of this country for Ghanaians to be aware of the overall fiscal position? Yes, jokingly he made a point that yes, the contractors should come to the NDC. But let me say two things. When President Kufuor handed over this country to His Excellency, the late President Mills, arrest position was 8.6 billion Ghana cedis at the time.
No.
8.6 billion. He's challenging me today. No. And I challenge you to look at it when you go back to the ministry. 8.6 billion.
All of them?
Governance is a continuous process. Continuous. It doesn't stop at any point. And let me tell you something. In the budget statement, the minister, what he said is that he has ring-fenced those arrests that he inherited and is going to pay them over a period of time.
Absolutely. So he
the one I'm making reference, the one that I'm making reference to is new arrests. New arrests. I'm making reference to new arrests. You have budgeted for. Come on, can I land? When you were speaking, I was careful.
Said it.
No, come on. There
okay,
are two
I
things.
don't have my time. So,
there are two things we are talking of: ring fence arrests, how you will clear them over a period of time, a new accumulation of arrests. You have budgeted capital over a period within the year. Remember, most of them are pipeline projects. The contractors are working; they haven't stopped. What happens is that when the contractors work to a level, they bring the certificate. You are saying that you are cutting them. So you are accumulating new arrests under your administration.
Seconds on this.
And then finally, let me go straight to growth. The issues we are making reference to has impact in growth. Let me say that.
I can just have 30 seconds for this.
Let me say that what the minister responsible for finance has presented to Parliament on growth are very unrealistic and they will be exposed big time by NDA.
We'll wait to see that.
Exposed big time by NDA.
Shortly.
Because non-oil GDP will not be able to achieve that.
One key thing I want to know from you is how you are going to raise domestic revenue. Is the only challenge that a lot of people projected.
I'll do that quickly, but I have before me the 2009 budget statement.
Yes,
this, for the purposes of the public, there are students watching us. Paragraph 89, and this was presented by the NDC administration. Mr. Speaker, the overall budget balance, excluding divestiture, amounted to a deficit of 2.5 billion Ghana cedis, equivalent to 14.9% of GDP.
Yes.
This compares with a budget deficit, a budget estimate of a deficit of 929.2 million.
So it's not
equivalent.
No, so, he's forgetting that budget was reviewed.
No, all right.
It was reviewed, and the numbers came up.
Bring the two of you again.
It was reviewed.
Now time,
please.
Time is not
that budget was reviewed.
2.5 cannot jump to 8 billion. But quickly,
revenue.
We have put a lot of interventions in place. You would have heard, as I indicated, the things we are doing at the ports. We're going to do a lot of reperformance and all that. Going forward, the revenue interventions would begin to yield. But more importantly, what would bring the revenue we're looking for is the push in growth. By reducing taxation and giving businesses more room to operate, we are expecting the economy to expand. He doubts it, it will. And when it expands, it's the businesses that would pay, that will give us the revenue.
For your time, and I sincerely apologize. Viewers, at this point, we would have to end because time is far on my side. The entire production team, we appreciate you. We'll create the platform where we'll give you more time. Do enjoy the rest of your evening. My name is Kweku Timin, and I had in the studio Kaiser Latoforsen, former Deputy Minister of Finance, and then Kweku Kwatin, he's a current Deputy Minister, and he's very optimistic about the future. Kaiser said we should wait and see what would happen. This is the house that you get every bit of the information. A very good evening to you.
Because there's something I'm double back. Remember the Damakuma son.
Stella Bonzi is a vegetable seller in Accra who lost Amma, her 2-year-old daughter, to malaria. She rushed her to hospital when she developed a high temperature with vomiting. Unfortunately, Amma convulsed, fell into a coma, and died.
Malaria is the #1 cause of death in this country.
Every day, 3 children under 5 years die from malaria in Ghana.
The moment we take malaria off our disease burden, we save quite a lot of money that could go into supporting other diseases.
XYZ Breakfast Show 93.1 megahertz. Today, 25th of April, is World Malaria Day. The theme for this year, 2016, is End Malaria for Good.
Invest in malaria. A special health summit is in progress. There is renewed determination. One of the speakers is Mr. Prince Kofi Amwabing, a leading Ghanaian businessman and president of UT Holdings. He is a malaria ambassador. Like most Ghanaians, he has unpleasant memories of malaria.
Inactive for at least about 3, 4, 5 days at a time. And it comes with at times certainly some headaches, some neck pains and running tummy, and general pains in the body.
He is particularly concerned about the impact of malaria on businesses.
The cost of malaria to businesses in Ghana
is $6.6 million a year. Prince Amwabing strongly believes that it is important for businesses in Ghana to contribute resources to the fight against malaria.
In any other business, in government, public service, everywhere, malaria does put people away from work, does affect productivity, and therefore there's a general impact on the whole economy.
98% of business leaders have expressed the need for increased investments to control